Hello, guys. Welcome to Leverage TV, another session of Leverage TV. I'm Tarun Singh. So I've been with Leverage for the last 1.5 years, currently working as a manager. So for those of you who are new to Leverage, so Leverage Edu is India's most trusted admissions service. And today I am here to discuss student life in the UK. So some of the topics that we will discuss today will obviously revolve around student life, and some of these topics, that we will demyth are firstly accommodation, cost of living, part-time jobs, food, travel, transport, and we also talk about a bit about the culture and community and some of the like do's and don'ts. So, and we'll probably take some questions at the end in case anybody has any questions. Please do, put them in. Um, so, a lot of what I will discuss today is based on my own personal experience. Um, so I should probably just give a bit of introduction about myself. I have studied in the UK. So I was studying at the University of Nottingham, which is a top 10 university. And I've also lived abroad for a lot of years actually. So I've lived in Singapore for almost 10 years, 15 years. Like I said, I've been working here now at Leverage for a year and a half. So I have a lot of international exposure. So we can now probably get started talking about the topic student life in the UK. So before I start on those topics, I want to maybe first talk about give a brief introduction about studying in the UK and some points to kind of consider. So those who are planning to go to the UK, firstly, the first one of the main points that you should consider is about the student life that you probably expect to experience. Um, is the city that you're planning to actually choose to study in. So a good idea maybe to actually think about whether you want to go to the main cities or whether you want to go to a smaller city. What is the level of city life that you are accustomed to living to, right? Usually in the UK, students would tend to choose London as a very popular option because A, it's the capital and it's also the financial hub of the UK, right? And naturally, so the jobs, that one is kind of exposed to, or the network that one is exposed to during that time is maybe slightly more diverse than what you would experience in a smaller city, right? It's the same in India. If you study in Bombay or Delhi, you would have a lot more exposure in terms of network and things of that sort. So it's a good idea to consider some of the bigger cities, but London is the mega metropolis, right? It's like our Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore. So besides outside of that, then we have there are smaller cities. There are big cities as well, like Manchester, Birmingham, Glasgow, Leeds, Liverpool. These are some of the big cities. Nottingham was where I studied, so that was a pretty good city. I wouldn't say it was a large city, but it was not a small city either. Had a good city life. So yeah, so that's one of the main points. Generally, if you go to London, you may not get the campus, the entire campus experience. It depends on the university that you go to, but generally, maybe campuses in London may tend to be a bit more segregated, whereas obviously outside of London, in these slightly smaller cities, you will get a much vast campus experience. Also, one thing you should know about studying in the UK is that so obviously we are all very much accustomed to the Americanized culture because we watch a lot of TV and we've grown up on American TV shows and movies. So we do know how the college experience is in America, but we're not sure if it's quite the same campus life in the UK. So well, actually, it is. It in the UK they have amazing campuses. Actually, my campus was, I think, the best campus in the whole of UK. We had lakes inside the campus and lush greenery and uh, old buildings which were built maybe like 50, 70 years ago. So it really gave us the wholesome campus experience that you guys would see on TV. So that's one of the points to kind of consider when you're considering the kind of student life that you actually want to live, right? Um, because you only get that student experience once in your lifetime. I mean, you don't have that much time to go back and do that again and again. So besides some of this, some of the other things that are interesting to kind of consider when you kind of go to study in the UK is the culture. It again may not be as familiar at it as as America again. Because you may not know it as well, but it has a very, very strong, powerful culture, and actually it's very magnetic in the sense that you may take some time to maybe understand the accent of the way people speak over there, the banter, they call it banter. So it may take a bit of time to kind of get used to all of that. But in time you would definitely start to appreciate and really love the culture over there. They have a very strong passion for sport, which is very similar to India. They love football, we love cricket. um, they love their country. They have an amazing pub culture. So you would see students um, constantly hopping over to pubs. There are pubs on campus, off campus. There's a great bar social life experience in the UK. It also has a great a lot of historical background and culture. As you know, obviously UK was one of the most foremost leading countries in the world, and had an empire that was quite vast. So they have huge culture. They've had huge cultural influence all over the world. English is the spoken language of the world, which came from England. You would see that when you actually experience life over there, that people are actually have a very high intellect, and you would really enjoy kind of conversing with some of the people around there. So these are just some of the things, a little bit of a background about the life that you could probably expect in UK. So it is very, very, it's a very intriguing cultural experience. So I'll just touch on a couple of the points why maybe you should consider studying in the UK, and then I'll move on to the topics which we were planning to discuss. That is accommodation, cost of living, part-time jobs, and the likes. So why someone should study in the UK? Firstly, you can probably do a master's there in 1 year and a bachelor's in 3 years, whereas if you go to the US or if you go to Australia, it's generally 2 years or 1.5 years. So it tends to be a bit cheaper. And that's a huge draw, and you have amazing universities as well in the UK. Secondly, you get the 2 year post study work visa, which is available, which is as good as any other country, or even better at the moment. At the same time, for all of those who don't know, you have the Brexit just happening at the moment, which means that Indians now actually have an equal employment opportunity, whereas earlier, Europeans or the EU had preference in terms of employability, and finding work. What else? So yeah, and also like UK is not that far, so it's actually a great place to actually go study, because it's only like I think a 6 hour flight from India, 7 hour flight. So you can travel to and fro quite easily. It's not as far as the States. It's also connected to Europe, which is a great thing, because you can actually travel around, which I will talk about a bit later as well. Now we can start with some of the topics that we are meant to discuss. So the first one being accommodation. Um, for those who don't know, Leverage Edu has various accommodation partners. There are companies like Uni Lodges and University Living, who we work with very, very closely. So we can help students find the right, the right accommodation for them. But some of the important things that one should consider when choosing an accommodation is some of the important points generally are whether firstly to whether you want to live on campus or off campus. That's a huge decision. If you're an undergraduate, then you should definitely consider staying on campus. The reason being why, because you are going to be there for almost 3 years, and it's important that you get the chance living in halls on campus to actually mingle and meet a lot of make a lot of friends, network well. You make a diverse network of a lot of international students as well. So you get that chance and opportunity on campus, whereas if you stay off campus, you may not get that opportunity. So that is something to consider. Also, if you stay on campus, generally the travel time is obviously very little, so you don't need to wake up in the morning and take a bus to go to class. Generally the hall where you'll be staying is actually right next to the school which you need to go to. So it's very convenient. So convenience is another factor. You also do get catered meals when you stay in halls. So you generally will have breakfast, lunch, dinner, which is part that goes towards the hall or the residence. And they generally have a hall where students go and eat. So it's good to have ready cooked meals all the time, because you don't have to really worry about where your next meal is going to come from. And you've already prepaid all of your meals, so you don't have to worry in terms of money either. One slight, you could say, drawback is that, yeah, it can be a little bit more expensive staying on campus. It's generally a bit more expensive because they generally do provide you food. So it does work out to be a bit more expensive sometimes. And the rooms do tend to be a bit smaller on campus, whereas if you kind of stay off campus, you can get an apartment. So these are some of the things to sort of consider, when choosing to stay on or off campus. When it comes to off-campus living, I suggest students should generally look for accommodation. So generally around the campus there's loads of accommodation. So right off your campus, maybe like 500 meters away, you'll find student residences available. Generally off campus, you would either have the option of getting a studio, so a 1 bedroom for yourself, or you get a shared flat. So you share the flat with a bunch of flatmates. Either they could be people who who you've met already in your first year and your second year you want to share with, or it could be random people who you're meeting on a group, on a social media group before you kind of get to university. There are all of these options. You can always ask the university to provide you these shared flat options or groups where students are having flats available and things like that. So like I said, there are two options. So there, either you have the option of staying nearby to the campus, and that works out generally pretty well, because you don't need to take a bus or cab, or you can generally walk. But it is important to consider that it is quite cold, in the UK sometimes. So sometimes you may not want to walk, which is why I said living on campus is actually a great experience that I think everybody should experience. When it comes to off campus, though, it is a lot cheaper because it's not on campus. It's slightly cheaper, but you have to arrange your your meals yourself. You do have you can get a, because you can get an apartment or a larger. It's cheaper. You can actually get much bigger rooms. So your studio or your apartment is generally pretty big. And you do get the privacy which you don't get in a hall, for example. So if you stay on campus, one thing is that you don't get any privacy, because you just have loads of people staying in and around you, so it becomes difficult to sometimes to focus in terms of your work. Whereas if you stay off campus, you have that bit of privacy where you can actually go to the library, or study at home, or whatever it is at peace. The drawback is that you have to cook your food, which is it's either you cook your food or you can actually order in. Generally, if you're staying in a flat, you could take turns with your flatmates to kind of cook. That's generally how it works. So that's a bit about accommodation, which is off campus. One more thing generally students do is that either they'll stay near the off campus near the campus, but near the campus, or they will maybe look at getting a place in the city, which is generally where all the restaurants are, which is where the malls are. All of the nightclubs and stuff are all in the city. So the city life experience is also quite nice. It really depends on what your preferences are, but staying slightly away in the city generally means that you may need to take a cab or a bus to to your campus every day. So that's something to kind of consider. Um, yeah. So coming to some of the costs in the UK of the different residences. So I won't really speak about London because London is just generally a lot. It's generally, or you can consider London to be 2x or so in terms of cost. But I'm going to talk about outside of London, which is where a majority of students will go. Generally, the cost of accommodation um, ranges between so it can start at about 70 pounds, 70 pounds, and go up to 150 odd pounds. Generally, if you're staying on campus um, in a student hall, it would be in the upper bracket of about 150 pounds because generally that does include some of your meals. So a lot of your meals, actually all your meals. So it's a bit more expensive, but it does include your meals. So you need to factor that in. When it comes to off campus, it really depends if you're getting a flat. If you get a flat, if you're living in the city, it could be again on the higher side because generally prices are a bit higher in the city. Whereas if you're just staying off campus, maybe in a shared apartment, it's a lot less. It could be about 70 pounds also, 70 to 100 pounds, depending on how far from the campus you are located. If it's very close and good location and good place, then it could be about 100. Otherwise, it could be like maybe 70, or you can get something a bit further in slightly residential areas. Um, and then this is for apartments, and then you have your studio apartments, which are slightly more expensive than shared apartment, obviously, because a shared apartment you're sharing with 3 or 4 different students generally, so you guys tend to share the cost. So carrying forward on accommodation costs. So we'll also talk a bit about the other costs of living in the UK. I know one thing that students generally are very concerned about is the cost factor, obviously, because a lot of people um, may not there is a viewpoint rather that it's very expensive to kind of study abroad, and I would not be able to afford it. um, but actually, one thing which I realized when I went there was that it's actually not that bad. It's not that expensive. um, the tuition fees is very high, and but your other costs, whether it's living in your entire living costs in terms of like accommodation and other things, is not that bad. And actually it can actually be covered if you kind of work part-time. We'll talk a bit about part-time jobs later and how you can pay off your cost of living while you're there. But first, I'll touch a bit on the different costs. So I've explained the accommodation cost. It generally ranges between 100 to 150 pounds. That is per week. So I don't know if I clarified that. So depending on where you want to stay, if it's on campus with meals, it's generally a bit more expensive, so 150, and off campus about 100. Um, when it comes to your other living expenses, it really depends on your lifestyle. So if you're not that outgoing, or if you're very outgoing, then it could vary dramatically. So your other living expenses would obviously generally entail your food and groceries. So if you're very frugal, and you just order in, you go to the supermarket and you buy your groceries, and you cook every single day. You could probably survive with shopping at a supermarket for like 150 pounds, and use those groceries and for the whole month. Whereas if you eat out a lot, then it could cost you a lot more than 150 pounds. That also, it depends. So if you're planning to order in, it depends whether you order like pizza, burgers, like cheap fast food stuff. Those can be quite cheap. So you can get a burger or a pizza for even 5 pounds. In the UK, it can cost you maybe, so 2 meals in a day could cost you maybe 10 pounds if you order in. Whereas if you order in much more expensive food, then it can be slightly more expensive. So yeah, so if you're doing groceries and ordering minimally, then yeah, you even 150 pounds can kind of get you through the month. And then besides that, obviously, you have other smaller expenses like your mobile bill, which generally isn't too high. Like we know the data costs are quite low. It's not as low as India, but maybe 10, 20 pounds or 30 pounds you'll get a good mobile plan. Generally, I think broadband is usually paid for by the accommodation provider, so I don't think you have to worry about that too much. Um, when it comes to transport, it really depends. Like I said, if you're staying on campus, then you don't have much of transport costs. It's only when you go into the city and kind of, going out for entertainment, then you need to kind of, pay for transportation. And even then, if you're like outside of London, it's very cheap. So if you're going to the city, for example, from your campus to the city side to kind of shop or eat or drink, the cab ride could cost as less as maybe £5 or £6 or £7, £8. And generally, if you split that between, two or three people, it just works out to hardly £2 one way per person, £4 both ways. So it can be quite cheap. It's not that expensive. Um, um, so yeah, that's a bit about the transportation. The only um, time when maybe your transportation could be quite high is if you're actually living far away from the campus in the city and you have to cab it in or take a bus every day. Then a cab could be very expensive if you're taking a solo cab to the city to university on a daily basis. That's why generally people don't stay that far from the campus. They stay nearby, um, so they don't incur these kind of transport costs. Besides that, you have your insurance, I think, is generally covered. NHS is generally covers for international students, if I'm not wrong. So I don't think you have any sort of medical covers or anything of that sort that you need to worry about. It really boils down to entertainment. I think besides your fees and your accommodation and your groceries, I think it's really about how much money you spend on entertainment. So, I mean, coming back to the total cost of, how much it sort of works out to. I mean, if you take an average of about £100 per month, per week, sorry, of rent, and say 150 pounds, as say your grocery and food. So it works out to about 200 or 200, not per week. 100 groceries actually be 150 pounds per month. So yeah, so basically your rent can be 100 pounds per week, so which works out to about 400 pounds per month, plus your groceries of about 150 odd pounds, and maybe living expenses and entertainment expenses of another 100 pounds. So about maybe 700 pounds a month could be your accommodation plus your cost of living there, if you're outside of London. So it's actually not that bad. Why it's not that bad is, what I was planning to cover in the next section, which is actually part-time jobs. Um, a lot of students, they feel that it's not possible to get part-time jobs, or they feel that they may feel kind of slightly scared about how to find a job, part-time jobs. But I think what I think students need to kind of understand is that, um, you know, um, generally there's always scope of, and people are always looking for, um, um, jobs, on a part-time basis. That's something which is never really, you never really find that we're short of part-time jobs ever, I think, anywhere. Usually it's the high-level jobs which can become scarce even when the economy is down, right? But low-level jobs generally are always there. And when you're living on campus, in the university, you will have such a great network that you should be able to find something quite fast. So in the UK, generally students are allowed to work legally 20 hours per week, 20 hours per week. Um, and Generally, the jobs would either be off campus again or on campus. If you get a job on campus, it would be um, either something around, like helping out at the cafes or the bars within the campus, or the food halls which I spoke about, or maybe the shop within the campus, or maybe you work as a receptionist at the sports center, or you could get a job in the library. So it really depends. There are various jobs on campus which you can usually try out for. Um, so one is this, doing something like waitressing, bartending on campus. The other job could be slightly more academic oriented. So you could kind of work as a campus ambassador or a research assistant. Those generally tend to be slightly more, better paying jobs, right? On-campus jobs are generally better paying in general. So it depends. Well, if you're working in the cafe, waitressing or bartending, you could get paid somewhere around 15 pounds per hour. If you're kind of working as a research assistant, or working as a campus ambassador, then you could even get like up to 20 pounds per hour. So it really depends on the kind of job that you get. But on campus is definitely better. It's you get a lot more money. Off campus, generally the wages are quite fixed. You'd either be again doing something like a waitressing, or bartending, or maybe working at a warehouse, helping somebody to pack their goods or something of that sort. But all these options are there. And off campus, generally you'll get paid a bit less, so around £9, which is usually around the minimum wage that students generally get, right? Assuming that a student does work part-time, and like I said, it's quite easy to get part-time jobs. Like, you just need to be a bit socially active. So you need to maybe firstly tap up the people within your university. So go to the university careers office, or speak to people who are already working these kind of jobs. So you'll see people who are working in the cafes, and stuff. So you can ask them always, and kind of drop off your resume in all of these sort of places. So networking plays a big part in that sort of job. um, Besides that, students can even use, there are apps. I think there's one called Indeed. In the UK, you can use Indeed or Read, and they are popular portals where students can, find this kind of information about these kind of jobs. Um, so yeah, if students do work in these part-time jobs, they generally can, maintain and actually pay off like all of those costs of living that I had just discussed. They can actually pay it off. And we'll do a simple calculation right now, assuming that somebody does work 20 hours, the maximum amount that a student can work part-time, and they earn, say, the minimum wage of £9. That's 180 pounds per week, which is works out to 720 pounds. And as we had calculated, you need around 700 pounds to kind of, pay your rent and your food and groceries and stuff. Yeah, you don't really have to worry about your living costs if you do manage to find something fast. As you can see, the return of investment of studying in the UK is really, really good. You can pay off your entire cost of living while working part time. And then you have 2 years of post-study work visa after that to, also get some employment, opportunities wherein in those 2 years you should be able to cover your tuition fee, right? Because tuition fee is usually just 1 year, and it can range from 10 lakhs to 20 lakhs. It depends on which university you get into, whether it's a high ranked or a slightly lower ranked university. But 2 years after that, if you're working in the UK, and you can earn, say, 30,000-40,000 pounds a year, which is like 30-40 minimum 30-40 lakhs a year. I mean, I'm pretty sure you should be able to easily cover those costs. I think we've already spoken about some of the things. I'm just going to quickly, end with, a bit about food, and as well as traveling, which are amazing in to do in the UK. So when it comes to food, like I said, you'll be most likely be staying in flats. Either you'll be staying on campus, so you'll be getting your food, cooked, having ready cooked meals offered by the university on campus. Or if you're staying off campus, that's when you may need to learn how to cook. But if you don't do that, you can order in. There are a lot of good fast food joints where students can eat from. There's pizza. There's a lot of they love fast food over there. So it's plenty of options on that front. Indian food as well. There's lots of Indians in the UK. It doesn't matter what city, you should be able to find a good Indian joint to eat at. Though it would be a little bit oily, so always better to cook yourself. Um, and Yeah, so for entertainment or traveling, generally, when you have, if you have, since you, if you would be there for a minimum of 1 year, plus your 2 years post-study work visa, it's generally, the thought of traveling around the UK itself and seeing different countries as, different cities, as well as, the thought about actually, traveling to Europe is actually an amazing advantage of actually studying in the UK. If you do decide um, to travel, so within the UK, it's very easy to travel. Even when you kind of land, you usually would land into London, and then from London you have to take, they have a national rail, which goes across the country. So you can actually take that, or even at Heathrow itself, they have a national bus service, which is very comfortable. Straight from the airport, you can actually go and sit into the bus, and it will take you to whichever city that you want to go to at a low cost of 30-40 pounds. You can book your ticket online actually, for these services, for National Rail, as well as the bus service that takes you around the UK. It's cheap. And also the good thing is that if you're traveling within the UK, everything is actually not that far. So from London, everything is usually 2 or 3 hours by train, or it could take maximum like 3-4 hours by bus, 2 hours, 3 hours by bus. So everything is quite doable, and very cheap as well. And if you plan to maybe travel outside of UK, like say if you want to go um, to Spain or Amsterdam or something like that. Even that, the travel is actually very, very cheap. Usually you get, aeroplane tickets for about 50 odd pounds, or even less than that, to whether it's like Barcelona, Ibiza, or Amsterdam. So, for a modest sum, you can have an amazing holiday, right? Like we can't actually think about, going to Barcelona or Spain, sitting in India for such a low amount of money. So one can actually even go for a couple of days and come back. That's the amazing part about about being in Europe actually. Um, so I think we are about to wrap up. So I'll just quickly, maybe um, shoot out a few points like of the do's and don'ts, maybe which students should probably do based on my experience. What you should kind of keep in mind if you are going to the UK. Um, some of based on my own experience. So I mean, I think first of all, I think you should not panic at all, and kind of be easy if you're planning to go to the UK. Like I see a lot of students, or when even I went, I tended to, they do a lot of shopping over here, and, overpacked my bags, and, took all kinds of stuff with me, biscuits, and I don't know, all kinds of warm clothes. But one should not do all of that. It's very cheap to buy good clothes in the UK. It's you have a lot of good, shopping options, so you can actually get there and do that. You don't have to worry too much about your SIM card. You should get just an international roaming activated on your phone, and that would enable you to use your phone while you're there till you do get a new SIM card. Um, it may take some time to adjust. It's a new culture, it's a new place, so you should give yourself some time to kind of adjust. Um, don't worry about food and all that stuff. And you do have plenty of opportunities to mix and meet a lot of friends. There are Indian societies everywhere. It's full of Indians everywhere. Even in university, you have a lot of Indians. But I would advise that you should, take in and kind of soak in the international experience and actually make friends from all over the place, and really network well while you're there. Um, Lastly, probably I would suggest that, you should not, of course, going abroad is a wonderful experience, and, you get all these opportunities to travel, to work, to learn, mingle. Somewhere, sometimes, you can kind of get lost of your goals. So I would suggest, you should definitely stay track on the goals that you have set for yourself while you are there, right? In terms of like what your plan was to kind of get out of university, whether it's getting a job or whatever. So yeah, I mean, I think I hope those who do end up watching this, they enjoy and they can get some tips from this content here today. Please do join us again tomorrow for another session of Leverage TV. Thank you. Bye-bye.